Hey, this is ReadyDude, and when I started doing retrospectives, I wanted to show people a perspective of old games from somebody who never grew up with them in the 80s or 90s or anything, who had no nostalgia for these games at all. So of course I covered Metroid, a game which even those who played it back when they were young can't say has aged well. Of course. And not only that, but the video is just bad in general, so maybe I should remake it, huh? Why not? So, let's take another look at the original NES Metroid. Alright, here we are again. The Galaxy Federal Police want us to defeat the Metroid on planet Zebeth and destroy Mother Brain. To be honest, I kinda like the broken English here in the intro. It was probably just a quirk of the 80s, as many of the games at the time had horrible English translations. As soon as you spawn, you will immediately notice just how underpowered you are. You can only shoot in 3 directions, left, right, and up, and a lot of enemies on the floor will be just out of reach. So you go to the left, get the morph ball, and they get absolutely destroyed by the enemies in the next room. I mean, come on, the game just started. By the time you enter the blue shaft, you are likely to be low on health. But you will have to farm these enemies too low to hit for a while you slowly get back. 5 health per pickup, and most of the time enemies don't even drop pickups at all. Not only that, but enemies take quite an amount of time to kill. And while in later games, new beam types let you kill enemies faster and feel more powerful, you will be never able to upgrade beam damage, and all enemies will take the same amount of hits as when you first began. And that leaves the early game frustration without the triumph later on. And would you look at that, I'm already dead. Well, I'll probably just spawn back in one of the shafts, so it'll be fine. Oh, yeah. Another thing about this game is how brutal it is. Alright, you know what? Let's take another path. I wonder what we can find. You know, I don't think I like that room. Let's go back. Okay, so if we keep going down the path we died before, we find our first energy tank. And when you first get one, your health is back to full. It's great. But when you start taking damage again, you realize that tank means nothing. Since you get hit so hard and restore so little, unless you want to grind for 30 minutes, which you will have to do, you aren't going to be above 1 tank of energy. So let's try taking another path. After getting banged up by enemies I can barely hit, and enemies keep respawning very quickly, I had my first grinding session to get back up to at least a tank and a half, and after that I found missiles. Now once you get these missiles, you might want to test them right there, but oh no, you don't want to do that. You need exactly 5 missiles to open red doors, and don't expect to get any good pickups along the way. So without using any missiles, I found a red door. Now if you're new to Metroid and found this for the first time, you may not know what to do here. You shoot at it, and nothing happens, so you try a missile and still nothing happens. You need to use 5 missiles to open red doors, and the game doesn't convey this to you at all. Once you figure that out, you get the long beam, and now you can at least hit the enemies on the roof now. So you walk all the way back to the other side of the map, and do the same thing to get morph ball bombs. Then you walk back through this corridor again, but at one point you just want to bomb a random part of the floor. No, hey look, it's the ice beam. There aren't even any environmental cues to help you out like in later games. You just have to have been bombing the floor random places. After getting the ice beam, we can now freeze enemies and step on them. Great! So I used that to pull off a huge Giga Brain play to get another tank. And I enter Kraid's lair, down in the Brinstar Depths. The Brinstar Depths is a labyrinth of rooms to get to Kraid. But it isn't an ordinary maze, no. Most of its rooms repeat themselves over and over and over, and it is in NES Metroid, without enemy spam, right? Each hit from one of these guys knocks off 20 energy. Like, wow, look at this. That's not even fair. At least due to the repeating rooms, there are a lot of missile upgrades here. After getting extremely beaten up and attacked during screen transitions, I found Kraid. The room before him has a place to farm for energy, but it takes so long. It took me, I kid you not, 30 minutes just to fill up 2 tanks of energy, only to lose them during the Kraid fight, since the best strategy in the fight is just to spam bombs, which requires tanking hits. At least it's over, and I got another tank, along with just a ton of missiles. Sweet. Alright, so now that I'm out of the Brinstar depths, it's time to get some new upgrades. I head all the way to Norfair, get the high jump boots, head all the way back up to the top of Brinstar and break through this roof to get the Varia suit. I also got another energy tank, but this backtracking is ridiculous. In other Metroid games, by the time you have to backtrack, it's been a while since you were last there. You have a bunch of upgrades, you get to take new paths, but in this game, you have to zigzag around the map so often that nothing feels fresh. And the new paths you take are only just one room leading to new upgrades. And now I have to go back down to Norfair to get to Ridley, and I was just here, nothing is fresh. Besides, Norfair is just like the Brinstar Depths, a maze of repeating rooms. I know that this is because the NES has hardware limitations, but even back in the 80s this must have been annoying. It shouldn't have been to this degree. I'd be fine with a smaller map as long as rooms don't repeat as often, and this is just not fun. I find the elevator to Ridley's lair, and after a quick couple of rooms filled with enemy spam to get to him, wait just a sec. Remember the start of the game? You're meant to feel weak in order to make your upgrades in your skill make you feel more powerful. But even though we're near the end of the game, I just don't feel powerful, and you never do. Enemies take more hits to kill in these areas than before, and you almost feel like you're getting weaker, and that's not something a good Metroid game would do. Sure, in other games, enemies become more powerful, but your skill still makes the difference. But with a moveset this limited, don't think skill is gonna matter at all. I mean, look at this. It takes no effort to beat Ridley. And I got another energy tank, but even then, in other Metroid games, even if you struggle with later game enemies, at least you can rest easy knowing that the early enemies should be easier to kill, right? No, it still takes the same amount of hits as when you first started. Oh yeah, and Ridley died. So anyways, let's finish this. I claw my way out of Norfair, taking a route to get the screw attack, and since I'm gonna probably lose my health anyway, it's faster to just die. Now, in contrast to every other upgrade in the game, the screw attack actually makes me feel more powerful. It can take out enemies in a snap. I actually feel like I stand a chance now. It's good that the screw attack is this useful, since I need to grind enemies for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Even this close to the end, this is necessary. I enter Torian and this place is brutal. The Metroids suck you dry and are so hard to shake off, and there goes all my health I spent 30 minutes getting. Even though Torian is only 5 rooms long, by the time I reached the final one, I only had about a tank left. And this final room just isn't fair. You have to break these, with missiles, and yes, they do regenerate, and no, there aren't any pickups to get missiles back if you run out. I do, however, reach Mother Brain, and with just 2 health left, she is defeated, activating the escape sequence. While Samus is escaping, I think I should give my closing thoughts. Metroid is a game that was already outdated as soon as it was released, and some of its problems aren't even a result of NES limitations, it's just bad game design. So yes, I would consider Metroid an extremely flawed and poorly designed game, but it had so much potential, and that potential did spark in its sequels. Metroid 2 and especially Super Metroid took the potential that the original game had and actually used it, fixing the problems that that first game had. So while I think Metroid is a bad game, I appreciate it for what it started, creating a series of wonderful games. And even its own genre, the Metroidvania, that's crazy! I don't think you should play this game for anything other than novelty purposes, as playing it and actually expecting to have fun probably isn't going to happen. If you have a Nintendo Switch Online, you already have access to this game, with things like rewinds and save states to help you out if you don't want to deal with some of this game's tedium. In the end, despite Metroid not being very good, it definitely was important. Alright, it's finally complete. I really felt like the original retrospective wasn't enough, and I'm glad I decided to remake it. I've now beaten this game 4 times. But at least it was worth it. Like I said, please give this game a try, you might find it at least interesting. Special thanks for this retrospective goes to my dog for just chilling there the whole time, my brain for coming up with this just to procrastinate doing my Spanish project, and Nintendo for making this game, this series, and actually making me want to write essays. Please subscribe because nobody does, check out my other videos because nobody ever sticks around, and most importantly, goodbye peoples!